Hey, Mom, can I shoot a doubles? And yeah, okay, go shoot a doubles. And I know she's just counting the dollar signs because it was like
twice as fast.
Oh my God, twice as much money, twice as fast, And so anyway, I go out and I shoot them the normal, quote unquote, normal way. And 1, 2, and 3 weren't bad. I mean, let's not joke about it. I didn't run them. I was a little kid. I was 11 years old and I was brand new. And so, but I shot them okay, hit some pairs. But I got over to 4 and 5 shooting them the quote unquote normal way. And, I'd shoot that first target, boom, and then the gun comes right off my face, And so I thought, man, that's not working. So I thought, well, change your feet. I got over to 5, same problem. So I thought, okay, that's not going to do it. And what am I going to do? And I didn't know, I walked off the line and there was a friend of mine who wasn't my friend at that time. He was the best shooter at our club, the best double shooter. And I knew who he was, but I had never met him before. He was walking out to shoot a practice. His name's Dennis Hamamura. And Dennis walked out, and I thought, if he's the best double shooter, I better watch and see what he does.
Yeah.
And so I did, and he was lead off, and so I had to wait all the way until he got to 4 and 5, and then bam, he's shooting the right bird first. And I thought, oh my God.
You can do that?
You can do that? That's legal?
That's legal.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Like, share, and subscribe. This podcast is sponsored by the following. Remington, made with pride in the USA. Iconic American impact. Wenig Custom Gun Stocks. Head on down for your custom fitting. Remember, winners shoot Wenig. Shot Tracker. Like having a coach on your barrel. For more info, go to takeaimtech.com. Life is too short to miss. RM Shooting Clinics. Helping shooters from coast to coast. Have Ricky take your game to the next level. Zach Nanini at Northwestern Mutual. Trusted advice from someone you know. We believe in putting people first. Other supporters for Trap Talk. The Nevada State Trapshooting Association. Don't miss their 75th annual state shoot this October in Las Vegas. The NSTA puts on some great shoots, and they're going big for this year's state. Go to nvtrap.com to check out their program and all other shoots as well.
Welcome to another episode of Trap Talk. I'm here with my co-host, Richard Marshall Jr.
Hello.
And we are here with the legendary Sean Hawley at the Wenig building.
Zach, I think you're trying to oversell this.
Hey, it's hard to get good people on this show. Well, we're good for a laugh at least. We're live at the Wenig building at the 2023 Grand America.
Yep.
That's being said, Sean's already done an episode with us before, and we had a lot of emails from a lot of listeners. And
he's actually been on 2 other episodes.
Well,
One
yeah,
his own,
that was the
and
Utah
then
episode,
the
right?
Utah episode.
That's right. We did the Utah
Yeah.
State Shoot episode.
See, I got a memory unlike Zach.
Yeah, I didn't really count that as a Sean episode because more he was talking about the gun club stuff. But now that I'm thinking about it, he is our first three-peat.
Yeah.
So
That's a good thing. I feel honored.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about a few things. So we had some questions come in about your double specifically, Sean.
Yep.
We'll get into that today. But the first thing we wanted to kind of start with was, what are you doing to prepare for a shoot like the Grand America? We're here. There's 2,600 targets coming, but just put us in the mindset of what you do to get here and what you're doing before the shoot starts.
Okay, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense because, I'm from Vernal, Utah, and in Vernal, we're at high altitude. It's very dry there, and coming back here to shoot these, like the Grand American, it's humid and very green. The background's very green, but it's the humidity that will really mess with us. So I try and come and go to a couple shoots prior to the Grand to get acclimated for the big one, which is the Grand America. And so this year we went to Minnesota and shot a week in Minnesota, and then we went down to Wisconsin, shot a week there, and finished up with a week in Iowa. And then we took a week off and hung out at Lynn Creek in Missouri. And all that is to get used to shooting a lot of targets and get used to the climate and get used to the way the targets are flying in this air back here.
So, Sean, That being said, you said look at the targets and the different presentation from where you are to here. What do you think is different going from that Utah target to this Midwest target? I mean, what are you seeing out there in the field?
To me, and I kind of noticed this, and maybe it's a West Coast or Western United States kind of thing.
Yeah.
What I kind of noticed even when I lived in California before I went to Vernal was that when I would go back east, it looked to me like the target would come out of the house faster and slow down faster. Whereas on the western part of the United States, and I think it's because of the moisture in the air.
Yep.
No technical wizardry here. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But that's my feeling. So, dealing with targets in the west side of the United States, the targets kind of come out at a speed and they gradually slow down. And here they seem to kind of slow down a little faster. So I think it's kind of getting used to that flash and shooting the target, and it's a timing issue for me.
Now, so like I shoot at Vernal. I've shot at Vernal for
very well, by the way.
Yeah. I love Vernal. Sean throws a great target at Vernal, so everybody needs to come to Vernal. But at Vernal, I mean, you smoke a target. Mm-hmm. Of course, you take care of your machines. Mm-hmm. Every night you're doing stuff, So, and I notice when we go like Wisconsin, Iowa, because I don't get to go to Minnesota. We were going to this year, but just didn't work out. But the targets there, of course, they're different from Vernal. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you as far as that flash.
Yeah.
Compared to Vernal, it comes out. You can see it the whole way. I know there's a lot of shooters that, what do you mean by that? Well, that instant flash, when people look too close to the house, sometimes they see it and then they lose it, the head comes off the gun, sort of stuff. Yeah. So I know the weather, like that's your main reason too, is we go out there, it can be hot in Vernal, but it's not the humidity.
Yeah, it's not the humidity, and you don't have to worry so much about getting dehydrated because you're going to sweat a little bit, but it's not like Midwest sweat in the summertime.
Yeah, exactly.
You come out here, you walk outside, and you're drenched. So
yeah.
So it's a different thing, and it's just something that I think for me, and I'm 54 years old. I'm not 25 anymore.
Like we used to be.
The
old days.
Oh yeah, those old days are gone. So you just have to take a little better care of yourself. You got to drink more water. You got to replace the electrolytes and drink your V8s and your Gatorades and that kind of stuff.
Less beer.
Well, let's not get crazy, Zach. This is still supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And but just take care of yourself. Eat as good as you can. I mean, these are late days sometimes, especially when you get into the latter part of the weeks, or if you're shooting handicap well, you've got shoot-offs.
Yeah.
So you're busy from the beginning of the day all the way to the very end, and so, you got to take care of yourself and kind of pace yourself, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the prelims, we're shooting 300 a day, for 5 days. And we don't do that at any other shoot all year long. No. Except for the prelims of the grind.
No, it is a serious grind.
Oh, yeah. And it is. It's, and of course, Zach and I shoot together in the prelims. And it's one of those, you're grinded, you want to shoot well. Mm-hmm. Does it always happen? Sometimes, like I always say, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. Yeah. But for all the listeners out there, new shooters that are going to come to the Grand this year, or maybe haven't been or going to come next year, you always want to prepare yourself for the worst. That's what I always say. I pack clothes for, of course, summer, but I also throw in that extra long sleeve shirt and a couple sweatshirts.
Because if you don't, you are going to need them.
Yes.
And if you bring them, you'll never use them. So
exactly.
Might as well have everything.
Yeah, that's right.
And rain gear for sure. They have torrential rains here sometimes, as we all
wind,
know.
Rain.
Wind, rain, lightning, you name it. The only thing I don't think I've seen here is snow. And I know it snows, but not this time of year.
Not in August usually.
We hope.
We hope not.
There's probably bigger problems if it does. Right?
So I know you mentioned the grind, the 10 days, the doing it, and not only shooting, but you're also teaching. I know you've been here a few days already. Mm-hmm. So, what do you do as far as teaching? You come a couple days early every year, and you have some students that get a refresher before they go into the Grand?
Yeah. We've in the last few weeks, I've been doing some lessons along the way, and I had some set up for this week, and I try to do them before the shoot starts, just mainly for myself, because when the shoot starts, I need to focus on what I need to do.
Yes.
So I like to try and do the lessons and help the people. Although I will do them in the evenings if I have a chance to through the week, but I try to take care of that prior to the shoot. The other thing, we go back to the grind of the shoot. It's not just physical, right? I mean, It is physical, and let's face it, none of us are in the best shape. Suck it in.
Hey, they said, eat your way to AAA.
I'm working on it, baby.
I did that a long time ago.
So it's a mental grind too, and the mental grind can be just as bad or worse than the physical grind, because you're out there and you're working hard, 300 targets a day, you're trying to break all those singles, you're trying to put up a good handicap score, trying to break 100 in doubles or whatever it is, and that mental grind will wear you down physically as well as mentally. So you really have to kind of be aware of that situation and deal with it the best you can.
And let's not forget too, we all have sponsors, and here at the Grand American, and Wenig's a sponsor for all three of us.
Yep.
We're here in the building. You see all the blanks bent, the beautiful stocks, exhibition grade and stuff. So we have to, go meet with them, do certain things. They ask, and that's great. And we do a lot of it. So even that breaks into, I know I've been late a little bit to squad times before, and the sponsor's like, no, don't worry about it. Well,
Podcast too.
Podcast too. It happens.
Ricky's busy over here. He's in high demand.
Well,
a lot more high demand than me.
Or me.
But it's one of those things is, hey, let's, and you want to make everybody happy. I come in early. I'll do a little teaching also, but I do a deal for the AIM for the kids. It's a free deal. And I think I had 14 or 16 kids come. It's usually an hour long. I was out there 2 hours, and it was hot.
Yeah.
And people were like, what are you doing? And people bringing me up water. And, one of my students, Anna Raw, she was in it, and she kept just bringing me smart water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, these things are like $3 a piece.
Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know you had it so good.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a huge grind, and I always recommend to people, if they're going to come to the Grand for like their first time, come on the weekend of the prelims and shoot that weekend.
Yeah.
You shoot 600 targets just in 2 days there, and then start the main Grand, kind of ease into it a little bit.
Yeah, when I was younger, that's what I would do. I'd go in Vandalia. We'd come in and shoot. Maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but usually, Saturday, Sunday, and then start Grand Week, still feeling fairly fresh.
Yeah.
And go from there. And then later on it became, gosh, I don't want to miss those first 3 days. And, I mean, because, hey, it's fun, and we get to see all our friends that we don't see all year long, and it's a great time. And anybody who has never been to the Grand, they need to go to the Grand.
Absolutely.
This is the World Series of trap shooting.
Yep.
And if you don't come, you're really missing out.
I think that's why we're going to do so many episodes here, is just to highlight how important it is and how many great shooters are all here in one spot competing at this deal.
They're all here.
They're
all here.
Everybody, well, look at the Brazilians that come. I guess there's I think someone said like 60, 70 Brazilians were
really?
coming from Brazil. I know a bunch from Australia were coming over. Some from England come over. I tried to get Paul Chaplow to come back, but, our buddy Paul, which we're going to have him on an episode, he said,
Oh, God,
not
you won't
again.
even be able to understand it.
The problem is the time change. He's up and we're not, and that's the
it's
problem.
okay, Zach. I stay up.
Yeah,
I go
we
don't know
early.
what you do. So
Well, I remember last year I saw them in Walmart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Paul, what do you think about the Grand American? He's like, hey, mate. This thing's going to kill me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, it's so hot. He said, I'm going back to Tucson. I'm not going to the Grand anymore.
Yeah, they don't. The humidity, and it is. It's a grind. I mean, this humidity here can be bad, as we know. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time.
Well, they have cooling tents down on the east end for people that have problems with heat stroke, and people use them because it is a real situation.
Absolutely.
It's no joke. I mean, there's at least one person a year that gets overheated that I can remember every single year, and I think people really need to hydrate. And I know a few people that have been going and doing those IV bag treatments before they even come in, just to get fully hydrated. And I'm like, I never even heard of that, but they got these health clinics now where you can pay. It's like $150, but they have IV bags with vitamins and stuff, and a lot of athletes do it before they go out and have big tournaments. So.
Next thing you know, Zach will have a tent set up down in Vendor
Yeah,
Grove.
like, hey, $150. Hit the main vein, feel good.
Right. And, after the shoot's over with, there might be some bourbon in there,
You can drink one, fill the other, no hangover. It's good to go.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So getting into, you spoke on teaching.
Yeah.
With your students, when you're working right before a major shoot like this, are you making major changes with them, or are you just kind of tuning them up, or like what are you looking for? What are some commonalities on some lessons? If someone's to book with you next year when you come out, what are the things that they would be looking for or expecting from you?
Well, I don't know what they're looking for or expecting from me because I don't know them yet.
So-
However, I try not to make huge major changes before a major shoot, you know. Now, if it's a situation where, they are brand new shooters and they basically need all the basics, then of course, but
Absolutely.
if they're looking for a tune-up, which most of them are, and let's see if we can bump our scores up just a little bit before this shoot, then we try and fine-tune them and get them, get some of the bad habits out of the way and go from there.
I kind of thought that's what you were going to say, and that's why I asked the question, because I know a lot of people come in and they're wanting to make major adjustments before they go into a shoot like this, and I think that can be detrimental if it's something where you're close.
It's one of those, and I agree with Sean. I mean, I've had to before big shoots, even the Grand last year. I've made some. I was like, this is going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
in the long run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You're shooting here. That's why, like with Wenig, getting a stock made, and we're going to have Bobby on here. But when you're doing a stock, I always tell people, come to the Grand because they can do it. They can make the pattern stock right here. You can go right out front of your practice traps.
Yeah.
You can shoot now, make tweaks and all that, versus them doing it, going home, and then, something just don't feel right, and then they got to fly back or send it in or some little thing.
Well, they're the pros. I mean,
Exactly.
These are the guys that know everything about stocks that you could ever, way more than I know or either one of
Yeah,
these two guys.
exactly.
And you can go out there and shoot and come back and talk to them. And I mean, they speak stock. So you can tell them this is what it feels like, and they know how to interpret that into, we'll take a little off here or add a little on there.
Exactly.
And even if you don't know it, they will.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what, these guys are absolutely amazing. They're magicians when it comes to wood.
Well, they're working on stocks behind us right now. It's kind of fun to see. I know Bill's back there. He's shaving away.
Bill and Bobby.
Bill and Bobby.
And that's the one thing. So back on the teaching deal, like with some students that I've worked with too, like you have, just that little tweak. And what it does, it gives them a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
Because as we know, if you're not confident, you're not going to break targets.
You got a problem.
You do. You're gonna go along, and you're just. It's almost like you're just stale.
You're sitting there waiting for something bad to happen because it has in the past. So why wouldn't it now?
Exactly.
So if you go in there with a little bit of a tweak and a little bit of confidence, now you've changed your whole outlook, and we're looking to do something good instead of waiting for something bad to happen.
Well, like I say, the little stuff. Like the other day when I was doing with these kids, I had one kid. I said, you know what? Just keep that weight forward and slow down just a minute. Last round, he goes out, breaks 20, and literally smoke ball 25 targets. He turned around, and he was my height, but he was 15 years old. Just the grin on his face.
Oh,
and it's like the Zach Nannini grin,
Yes.
the cheese. And it was just, and that's what makes you feel good when you're teaching someone.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, they turn around, they're like, and you're like, oh man, this could be a long day. You know?
I don't like seeing that look. It's like, but like I was just helping a young man, 20 minutes ago, and he was having heck trying to hit the second bird in doubles, and his feet were just a little wrong. It wasn't much, but it was enough, and he wasn't getting to the second target, and so we just changed his front foot. I mean, Ricky, a half an inch.
Oh, it makes
That's all it was.
everything.
And all of a sudden he crushed the next pair, and he looked back at me like, I got it.
Yeah.
I understand now what you're trying to tell me.
Now you got to do it every time.
Well, and that's the thing, But you give them that little bit of something, and then they go. And then you can see the light bulb go on.
It does.
And when that
It
light bulb
clicks.
goes on, you're like, gotcha.
And they smile and they get happy and then they get excited and then they're out there shooting the rest of the day.
Hello, Trap Talk listeners. Zach Nannini here, and I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Remington. And today, I would like to go into what shells I use when I'm training and when I'm shooting tournaments. First of all, we start with the Gun Club. This is a great shell. I shoot an 11.45 ounce and 1/8. and this is what I shoot for singles and both shots of doubles. The only reason I don't shoot this in tournaments is because I like a little bit of a harder shot, a little bit of a harder break, but it works great, and it's the same speed as this STS shell. So this STS shell, a little bit harder shot, figure 8 wad column, smokes the targets a little bit harder. Also, I shoot for singles and doubles, both shots. And then when I go to the back fence and I want to put the smoke on them, I bring out the Nitro 27, ounce and 8, 7.5. It's a 1235 shell, blast the targets, works really well. I hope these shells work for you, and I want to thank Remington for supporting Trap Talk.
Speaking of doubles, you shoot doubles kind of
The right way.
the wrong way, but it's okay. It works
The
for
Sean
you, Sean.
Hawley
Now-
way.
And honestly, and I'll say this so Sean don't have to, but my son, Tyler, I switched him to shooting the right bird first because he's left-handed. Now he's shooting, taped, and being left-handed, he would shoot the straightaway bird, and then he'd go over, and you could just see that barrel slow down.
Yeah.
So what's he doing? Looking at trying to bird, beat, bird, and finally I said, son, let's shoot Sean Hawley's way, right bird first. He goes, are you sure, Dad? I said, just try it. So we go out and practice, and woof, woof. Okay, fine. Works good. Show up at Wisconsin State shoot. I said, let's go shoot some doubles. He goes out there, and he goes, what? I said, start on 4. That's where you're shooting all week. Right bird first. He goes, okay. He smoked 50 straight and hadn't shot doubles since Ohio State. And he turned around and he goes, okay, now he breaks 98, 99, 97, and the 3 doubles up there. And
Sean Hawley way.
Yeah. And
Not
Justin,
Ricky Marshall way.
Exactly. Well, and Justin Debris, because Wyatt shoots that way, and Justin's like, I didn't realize you switched him. And I said, yeah. I go, he could not pick up that second bird. It was literally tailing off every time. So, speaking of that, why did you start that way? Size?
Size.
Is that what couldn't move to the?
No.
I figured that was it. You
I'm
were
not-
a little kid.
I was
but,
just a little kid. Ricky came out that way, but I actually grew up from. No, I was actually a pretty good sized kid for my age back then, so it wasn't that. I could shoot in singles or in handicap. I could shoot the right bird fairly aggressively.
versus.
And I didn't ride it all the way. It came out of the house, I saw it, and I shot it. And so when I got to shoot doubles for the first time, my mom made me wait until I broke a 25 straight in singles.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, Mom, can I shoot a doubles? And yeah, okay, go shoot a doubles. And I know she's just counting the dollar signs because it was like
Twice as fast.
Oh my God, twice as much money, twice as fast, And so anyway, I go out and I shoot them the normal, quote unquote, normal way. And 1, 2, and 3 weren't bad. I mean, let's not joke about it. I didn't run them. I was a little kid. I was 11 years old, and I was brand new. And so, but I shot them okay, hit some pairs. But I got over to 4 and 5, shooting them the quote unquote normal way. And I'd shoot that first target, boom, and then the gun comes right off my face, And so I thought, man, that's not working. So I thought, well, change your feet. I got over to 5, same problem. So I thought, okay, that's not going to do it. And what am I going to do? And I didn't know, I walked off the line, and there was a friend of mine who wasn't my friend at that time. He was the best shooter at our club, the best double shooter. And I knew who he was, but I had never met him before. He was walking out to shoot a practice. His name's Dennis Hamamura. And Dennis walked out, and I thought, if he's the best double shooter, I better watch and see what he does.
Yeah.
And so I did, and he was lead off, and so I had to wait all the way until he got to 4 and 5, and then bam, he's shooting the right bird first. And I thought, oh my God.
You can do that?
You can do that? That's legal?
That's legal.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, what? Oh,
Yeah. And so I thought, so I go to Mom, can I shoot another doubles practice? Yeah, okay, so I'm like, okay, cool. So I go out and I shot the right bird first, and I didn't run them all, but it felt so much more natural to, as a right-handed shooter, shoot the right bird and then bring the gun into my face. And I could shoot the first bird, the right bird, aggressively. It's not much movement, but there is some. I don't spot shoot it. I make the move and then come back and shoot the second target. And so I've basically shot every other round since that first round. The way I shoot.
That you shoot. Now, so do you hold outside the house on 4 and then further out on 5?
Yep.
And now, do you move your gun at all on your call a little bit?
I hope not, but I won't say that.
The reason I say that is Tyler, we're in Wisconsin, he moved his gun, and I was like, and I was getting ready, but I think it's the way he picks up the target. It just smoothed him out, because then he was smooth on the transition, and I was like, so we got done, and he goes, I know you're going to say something about me moving. And I said, yeah, and because he doesn't do it on 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
And he goes, that's the only way I could clearly. I said,
If
you
it
know
works
what?
for him.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
wondering kind of that.
Yeah, no, I don't think I do, although sometimes I kind of wonder if I do. But, they usually break when I do that, so it's
Yeah,
like,
it does. Yeah, you're
I'm like,
like, "Ah, it
don't,
worked."
don't ask questions if it's working, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll hold the gun about probably a foot to 2 feet to the right of the right front corner of the house on
Okay.
post 4 and below the path of the target. So the key is to make sure that the target doesn't go through your barrels.
Exactly.
That you can see it coming over the top of your barrels. Now, I don't look back at the center of the house.
Yeah.
I'm looking right over the gun, but I am a 2-eyed shooter and I can see peripheral vision.
coming.
I can see it coming,
Yep.
and then it's just a little move up and to the right. Now, post 5 is about 4 to 5 feet off the right of the house, but same idea, low enough to
Low
where,
enough that it's flying over the top of your gun.
exactly, and then it is a little bit more of a move to the right and up. But the key for especially 5, but also 4, it's not hitting the right bird. I mean, that's really not that hard.
No.
Once you've done it, it's not over swinging the left bird. So the left bird is what we call, or what I call, an inside straightaway from 5, because it's a little bit, if the targets are set correctly, it's a little bit of a right angle from 5, and you've made a move going to the right, and now you're moving the gun to the left on a target that's going to the right. And so the kind of the trick to this is that you need to put a little bit of a hook in your move to the second
Like
bird.
a J, almost kind of.
Almost like a, I
Yep,
call it a
yep.
hook, a J, whatever
Yep,
you want to
yep,
call it.
yep.
And it's like this so that you don't overswing it.
Because if you go left, you're going to pass it.
Yeah, if you shoot the right or the left-hand side of that target, you're going to be on the wrong side of it because that target's going to move away from you. So you need to actually come up and shoot the right-hand side of that target. And if you do that, it's very doable.
It's going to break.
When I started doing it, remember, we had pullers.
Oh, yeah.
And if you weren't able to turn down a bad pull, you'd miss the whole pair
Yeah.
because it was such a timing situation. But
Yep,
now
yep.
that we have microphones and pat traps and the pairs are set more consistently, although I'll still say a handset with a good setter will throw the best targets.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. The old
little better.
Winchesters.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the key is you have to have a good setter.
Good setter.
And
yeah.
they don't really have that almost anywhere in the country left,
No,
right? I mean,
no.
it's so rare.
No.
Just
Yeah.
small gun clubs, maybe.
Yeah, but at any rate, with the Canterbury's and the pat traps, it is doable for most people now, and I wouldn't have said that 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I'm noticing is more people are doing it your way. I mean, you've got
Yep.
Wyatt, you've got Tyler, like
Yep.
you said, and that's 2 that we know in 2 squads of 10 people.
Well,
so
and
I
Foster
wonder.
Barthlow.
Yeah, Foster shoots right bird. But you got to look, too, is, going on numbers now. Wyatt's broke. I don't know how many hundreds now. He's up to like maybe
bunch.
10?
15.
10,
no,
15?
15, 16,
15,
I think now. How many hundreds and doubles do you have?
270.
Okay.
So it's a few.
But I probably have a few more targets shot too.
Just a little bit.
It's a few.
But that's what I try to explain to people is because some people come out and they do it, and I've taught people that, and I'm like, no, you need to get your gun outside.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, I want to hold it here.
Nope.
And I said, it's not going to work because what happens is you want to talk about passes because they're moving so fast
Yeah,
this way.
too much momentum.
Exactly. And then when they're coming back,
Yeah.
and they're out of the gun.
Well, and the thing is it's not a singles target.
No.
I'm not shooting it as a singles target. I'm shooting it much more aggressively than I would shoot a singles target, which
Yeah.
I can do with any target, first target in doubles because I know where they're going. The only reason you have to slow down for singles is because it's oscillating and you don't
Yeah.
know which one you're going to get. But
Yep.
because I know which one it's going to be, I can be a lot more aggressive. But it also means that I can shorten the stroke and stop without any follow through.
Yeah.
So it is a more of a whap and then stop it here and then come back and shoot that
Shoot that
second
second.
bird.
And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with because if you shoot singles or handicap properly, you're following through the target.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
have
Yep.
follow through.
Yep.
But in doubles on that first shot, it is a stop shot. I
Yep.
mean, I don't
Yeah.
want to
I
have
don't
my
spot
hands.
shoot.
No, I'm
You
not
don't
spot
spot
shoot. I
shoot.
don't
Sean
spot
doesn't
shoot.
spot
But
shoot.
but once I shoot, wherever that gun gets to and I'm pulling
Yep.
the trigger, you
Yep.
don't want it to keep going in that
No,
direction.
no,
You
no.
want to stop it.
Now,
and
the second shot for me, I do follow through.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, on the post. All the
just
post
on that
where
post 5, you don't want to
Yeah.
follow it too much to the
No.
left.
Well,
you
yeah,
don't.
doing it the way I do it, yeah, it's more of a hook, but it's like
You
shooting.
still come through it
you can
more.
come through it, but you
Yeah.
have to come up to it.
Yeah.
You can't go through it this way.
Well, and if you watch Wyatt, he shoots that first one aggressively, but when he comes back, he goes a little slower than, of course, you do because he's learning.
Yeah.
And that's how. And Tyler's the same way.
Yeah.
And Tyler,
Speed
there was
comes.
funny at Wisconsin. We had some targets that it was windy the one day, and he followed a few of them down. Well, then we got to Iowa. They were a little taller at Iowa than Wisconsin, and he would ride one out there, and I'm like, boom, he'd break it, and I'm like, we'd get done, and he'd go, yeah, I'm like, listen,
It's working.
You're on it. Don't shoot too. That's me with trigger control. Why do you shoot them boom, boom, and then kind of boom, boom?
Wasn't there yet.
Wasn't there.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's the trigger
Shoot
control.
them where they are, not where you think they are.
That's right.
Where they're
shoot them where
supposed
they're
to be.
at, not where they're supposed to be.
That's right.
So while we're on doubles, what would you give as far as advice if you're going to go out and train doubles? What do people need to be working on? What are some drills that maybe you do going into the ground or just in general or have done in the past that really can take your doubles to the next game?
Well, I think you need to have a baseline to start with.
Yep.
You have to have good fundamentals, which, get a lesson from Ricky or get a lesson from me or whoever that knows the good fundamentals. And you need to start with that. Having your weight forward on your front foot, being able to pivot off your front foot and staying on your front foot in between shots. I see so many times guys come and they need some help and they get stood up on the first shot.
Yeah.
And they go on, and when I say stood up, it means that they're getting pushed back onto their back foot. If they're a right-handed shooter, they're on their right foot going to the second target, and they'll loop over, they'll stop
They'll
the
go
gun.
up.
Yeah,
That's the only way the gun can go.
Because you're
leaning back.
It rolls this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a bad program, and so that is one of the things that I really focus on with people and myself as well, is stay on that front foot, make sure I'm moving my shoulders to the second target. The first target, I for myself, I've done it so long, I don't really think about the first target so much anymore. It's really about getting off the first target and to the second target. Getting the eyes to move over, immediately after, you don't sit there and admire your breaks.
Yeah.
And I think all three of us shoot doubles the same way, as soon as that gun goes off, our eyes go to the next target first, correct?
Absolutely.
100%.
They shift.
So it's a snap.
Yep.
It's a snap to the bird.
Yep.
You're looking at it, and then that gun's coming and trailing from behind. And I think there's so many shooters that are going to that second target with the gun. They're kind of, they're looking over it like a straw, and they're just like, okay, I don't see the second bird. I don't see the second bird. Oh, I see the second bird. And then, they're kind of there.
Yeah.
And it causes them to do that, like, kind of
Flinch.
toss at the end, or that little, that
Arm
throw.
flinch.
Yeah.
And I've watched and done lessons where I'll see that barrel just chop, chop, chop along the way.
Yep.
Because
'Cause they're
going
with the gun.
They're going back and forth from gun
They're getting
to
the gun there first before their eyes. That
Yes.
happens a lot of
And
times.
for me, it's you've shot the first target, the eyes go to the second target, and when the gun gets to the eyes, that's when you go bang.
Now, do you do a little bit of a loop?
I call it a check mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I've always called it a loop, and not a U, but it's
Yeah.
almost just a little down, a little, so you can always see. And that's how Hoppy taught me.
And I agree with you got to come down a little
Yep.
bit, but what I don't like and what I struggle with some of these guys that have been told, do the U move,
dip.
Yeah.
dip or the U move or whatever, is that what they do is, let's say they're on post one and they've shot the first target and they come back over here like this and they end up shooting behind the second target
Yeah.
because they cut
They
the
shortened
loop
it.
off too
Yeah.
much. And so
it's
I like
almost like a J almost. It's you, and then
Yeah,
you.
see, I like
Or check mark, yeah.
and it's diagonal through the second target. And if they'll do that and stay on their front foot, it'll drive them right through that target in a nice smooth move right through it. And it's a better way to go to me.
See, and I agree with you, and I've always just called it a loop.
Sure.
But I always tell them it's not a loop. It's not a U.
Right.
You got to go to that target. Like,
Yes.
and I was, like going from here to there. I would say a J. And then, because I had some people out on the East Coast here recently that he just couldn't. He's like, well, I'm so and so. I did, local
I'm
guy.
dipping the gun.
I'm dipping, and he would. He'd go boom, and he'd come down. And it was almost a V.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it was kind of this weird. And he would come up. Well, I'm like, yeah, but you're coming up here. The target was here.
Uh-huh.
Now the target's over here.
Yeah, it
so
kept
you got to
moving.
drive through it. I said,
Yeah.
your second shot's always like a single shot or a handicap shot.
Yep.
And just drive through that
Drive
target.
through it, and you got to
Yep.
drive through it. It's no different than if you were shooting singles and you stop the gun.
Exactly.
You
Well,
know?
like you're talking and really relying on the weight forward.
Yeah.
That's what I have always told people. If you keep your weight forward, you're not going to get rocked back on that second shot.
100%.
The first shot will take you. It could stand you up maybe a little bit, and that's fine. Going to that second one, you're not on your back foot. Because I said, if you're on your back foot shooting that second one, it's 90+% it's lost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
You know, because you're shoot.
Yeah.
That's when you do the U. Because that's all you can do.
I've seen it as bad as some people take their head off the gun when they're dipping it down because they're just trying to get it down so they can see and they're coming back to it.
That's called arm shooting.
And I think you really need to stay connected with that gun. I mean, more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Trap Talk listeners. Today's episode is brought to you by Wenig Custom Gun Stocks.
That being said, a custom gun stock is going to elevate your game to get the same fit every single time.
And I can attest to that. I broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hundreds with my Wenig Custom Gun Stock.
I haven't broke hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, Rick, but I did break 100 from the 27 within 7 days of getting my stock and broke 2 more that year and loved it.
Here, this is
Okay. You would take it or me?
We'd like to thank Wenig Custom Gun Stocks for supporting Trap Talk.
That being said, everyone knows.
Winners shoot Wenig.
Are we doing the import?
Well, yeah, I've seen some really good shooters, and I won't mention names, but you know him. One of our friends from New Mexico.
Yeah.
Friends.
Who shoots really good.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a handicap shooter and really good single shooter and occasional very, very good double shooter. But he has a problem standing up so straight. And when he stands up real straight, you know, and the gun hits him, it stands him up on his back foot.
It's hard to
His head
recover.
comes off the gun. Now he's got to put his head back
Back
down
on
on
the
the gun and come over and shoot the second one. And when he does it correctly, he'll break you 100.
Yep.
But the problem is that he doesn't do it correctly.
It's
every
not
time.
consistency.
There's
The
no
consistency is not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's difficult when you're trying to duplicate it every single time. Like you come out here and we've got 800 doubles in the next 10 days. I think 800, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
800,
5, 6, yeah.
and
5 in the
guys like
prelim.
yourself, Ricky Bartholow. I mean, not missing a target sometimes for a few hundred birds, 300, 400, 500 birds.
I have broken
going
5x5 here at the Grand before in the doubles. You know, and there is. I think you broke a 5x5, haven't you?
Not in the prelim week, but it was a combination of prelim and
I think
grand week.
mine was combination of not the whole but
Actually had-
prelim and main.
I actually had, in fact, the one year, Austin Scroggins.
Yeah.
He went like 400 or something.
He
and
broke a
then
5x5.
Was it a
It was
5x5?
500 straight. Because
Then
the
I
year
went
before,
one more than he did. I had 6.
I
There
had
you go.
5x5.
Let them know.
I run
Shout out to
500.
that. from
Sorry,
Sean Hawley.
Austin.
Take that
But
home.
there's only been a few. I know Foster's done it.
Yeah.
Or Matt's
Matt,
done. I'm
yeah.
sorry, Foster. We love you, but
Well, he
you
probably
know.
did the singles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He did do the same.
Together, they got them both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's one of those things is, because everything's carried over. Now, years ago,
Ooh, and that's when it was even harder.
that's
Guys, you don't realize, but I mean, even here in Sparta, they used to shoot the singles and the doubles off, and you'd shoot 200 singles at max, I think, a night.
Yeah, occasionally they would. I think they only did that.
1 or 2 years.
Yeah, and then
but
they
they
quit
were
that, but
they
then
were
the
still
doubles.
shooting off the doubles. I
Yep.
can remember standing or sitting in the grandstands at midnight, sitting next to Leo.
Yeah.
We both broke hundreds, and it was like pre-grand week, and it's midnight, and they're finishing up the handicap shoot-offs, and they finally call us. I mean, we didn't get done until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning. Well, you remember back in the
Oh,
day, and
yeah.
I don't remember what year it was when,
Yeah.
you and I, there was like 11 of us with hundreds. And then after, I think it was 80 or 60, it was down to Sean and I, and we ended up going 200 in the shoot-off in Vandalia.
Yeah.
And then, boom, you got to shoot the next day, another 300 targets.
Yeah.
That had to be a different level of endurance to add that aspect to it, because I remember doing that a few times. I mean, I went to Vandalia once, and even the first few years here, they had those shoot-offs. But I personally am a fan of the carryover system on these prelims now. I mean, right?
All three of us right next, especially Sean and I. I mean, Sean, you and I have carried over at Southwest Grand. The one remember the
Please
singles?
give me a carryover.
Hey,
Carried
we
over
all
to the
tried to
all-around.
We tried to let's carry it to the all-around.
Can we carry it to next shoot?
They want to do what? And I go, yeah, can we carry it to? And I remember Royce goes, if they go for it, we're good. They did, and there was like me, you, and Freddie, I think, the one year. And they were like, you guys aren't shooting. No, we're just carrying to the total on the all-around.
Yeah, I mean, we're already tied. We ran the 200.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
we're tied.
Yeah.
What difference does it make?
So it is the carryover sometimes is a little nicer and easier on the body in the morning.
Well, that's the thing on a shoot like this, when you've got day after day after day after day of shooting, and you're up until. I'm not kidding. I mean, Ricky and I have been out there at 2 a.m. shooting, and then you got to get up again the next morning and get going again. And you do that 2 or 3 times, and let me tell you what, you're pretty wore out.
I know the one year in Vandalia, in the 10 days or 11 days or whatever shooting, I think I was in a shoot off 9 or 10 of the nights. It was one night I wasn't, and I was like, I ate Taco Bell every night because
that was
that
the
was the
only
only
thing
thing
open.
open. Yeah, in the old Vandalia days.
Yeah.
But it's like here even.
Makes for a
There's
good
been
morning.
nights,
Yeah,
you know,
a little
where we've
rough.
been up late, and then of course, you want to have a beverage with the boys, and
Not time for that.
Yeah, and we still try to make time for that a little bit.
You're always late enough in the morning that you can make it work, right, Rick?
That's why I squad, Zach, and you
Professional.
don't. We do not let Zach do the pre-squatting.
But it only makes sense. I mean, aside from the wear and tear on us shooters, it makes sense financially because shells are expensive and hard to get.
Yep.
Right?
No, for sure.
For the gun club, it's the targets and the labor.
Yep.
All night.
All night long, you got these kids out there, and you got to realize I run a gun club, and you got to realize when these kids get onto overtime, you're not making money anymore.
No.
You're
Your
going
profits
backwards.
is leaking.
Yeah, you're bleeding bad. So
Yep.
it only makes sense to do this. And at our club, unless there's a yardage change, we don't even shoot the handicaps off. We carry the handicap stuff over, and people are like, well, you got to shoot the handicaps off. I'm
Not
like,
if the yardage didn't change.
Not if the
Ain't no
yardage
yardage
doesn't change.
That's right.
So
But we love coming. We come to Vernal for other reasons too.
Well, we got
the
some other-
extracurricular stuff.
yeah, we got some other
it's
stuff
great.
to do.
That's why I'll give another shout out to Vernal Rod and Gun Club. You guys need to come out there.
If you're not
missing
doing
out.
it, you're missing out.
Zach goes to the U.S. Open, which I understand. It's an hour from home, but between Deg and the Keith Diddle beating up on him, he might come to Vernal next year.
Hey, Dagan, yes. Keith Ditto didn't have
Oh,
me this
you
year.
got him this
I
year?
got him this year.
Oh,
I don't mean to say anything, Keith, but hey, it happened. So I do want to spend a second on your specific gear because we talked about doubles, chokes, shells, stocks. I heard you're using the new recoil reduction system.
Yep.
How long have you been using it? How's it working? Go give us your gear end of it, Sean.
Well, it's a Wenig recoil system that I've got, and I've been using it, I think, about 3 years now. I was concerned when I went to it because I wasn't sure about the return time for doubles. I didn't think I was going to have any problem for singles or handicap, but I was a little concerned about doubles. And I can tell you all right now, don't worry about it. You won't even know it's happening. It's so fast. But it does take a lot of the recoil out of the gun, and it makes it for a much smoother situation, and I think you're not quite as wore out at the end of the shoot. Other stuff that I've got, I wear decot glasses, they're prescription. I've got I shoot a Krieghoff top single trap special with 34-inch single barrels and a 32-inch over and under.
A little longer.
I shoot 30s.
He's got a little more muscle than Ricky. I
Yeah,
guess.
no, that ain't it.
No, it's not it.
My stock's longer than his.
A lot, but here's the real deal on that. Okay, when I switched over to Krieghoff, they asked me, what kind of barrels do you want? Well, I shot a Perazzi before I shot the Krieghoff, and I shot 32-inch over and unders. So me being me, I was like, well, I shoot 32s. So,
Duh.
Yeah, duh. Well, then I got the gun and I picked it up, and I was like,
I guess you want the 30s.
this is a little heavy.
A little more German steel in these bad boys.
Yeah, I think maybe. What do they make this thing out of? So anyway, I went out and started shooting, but I shot it really well, and I think I ran the first 1100 straight with it.
Yeah, I
So it
remember
was all
that.
good. But I can totally see why Ricky and Harlan both went with the 30s.
I'm a 30.
And
Yep.
30.
I've thought about the 32 though. I've had a long thought about it because it's just I feel sometimes for me, and Ricky will tell you this, I will get fast, and it's because that gun gets there so quick.
No. It's because he gets he gets the nanini in him,
Then the nervous.
But with I always shot 32s before, and I feel sometimes it can be a little smoother.
Yeah, and I think that's true. Once I got to shooting it, I felt like, hey, I can get the thing moving, and it will carry me through to the target. So I'm a fan of it. I'm not saying I would change. I wouldn't change. I'm happy with the 32s. Other stuff. Let's see.
Shells,
yeah,
chokes.
shells. Obviously Remington.
But same bull shots, different.
Yeah, in doubles I shoot light eights, ounce and an eighth of eights at 1145, and the STSs. They're a great shell. I like the same shot for both shots.
We're the same on that. And then Ricky's
Yeah,
the banger.
I just shoot. I've always shot the handicap.
Ricky shoots
the
the
second one,
handicap.
and it was
Yep.
one of
He
those.
can control it a little better than we can.
Now, what about chokes? What are you using for first
So
shot?
I have Wilkinson chokes in the gun. They're fixed chokes. For my singles my singles barrel is actually a choke tube. I have 2 barrels. I have a handicap barrel that it's a fixed choke, and that one is 36 thousandths. I use a improved modified for my singles tube, but then my over and unders are fixed chokes, and they're 16 thousandths and 26 thousandths.
So you do a choke change,
No, they're fixed chokes.
So he's fixed choked on the over and under.
but on the single barrel, you said improved modified. Do you have 2 barrels, or do you
I
have
have 2 barrels.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that being said, that brings up a question someone asked us in an email. Are your single barrel and your handicap barrel shooting in the same spot, or do you change that?
All 4 barrels shoot 80%.
80-20.
So then, why do you have a handicap barrel and a single
Because
barrel,
I'm a little too fast in singles.
He does roast them pretty quick.
You know, and I try not to be. I really do.
I
But
know.
it's hard. It's
I
just
know.
hard.
It is.
I see
the
it,
older
I-
we get, we're like, say boom.
I can't help it, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, for years, and I shot the barrel that I shoot handicap with for the first 10 years I had the gun,
Yeah.
and I thought, you know, I'm throwing a dinner plate at the singles target because of the way I shoot them, and I don't want to shoot them that fast. I
It's just
try
how it
and
is.
slow
Yeah.
down, but it's just hard, you know. So anyway, I went ahead and got a top single. With a choke tube in it, and it's helped me
So
quite a bit.
you got an eye mod in there. So realistically, from the handicap choke to this, you gained about 2 inches on your dabber. So.
Now, why are you a buzzkill? You know, don't.
Hey, we're
don't
just
be
we're just
messing-
bringing up facts
Don't
here.
be
No.
messing. Don't
No,
be
I
messing
get
with
it.
my group.
You know, it's a mental
Hey, a
thing.
lot of it
is.
is, you know.
That's I
know,
I
I-
always tell people I don't like to see people shooting mods for singles, but that's what Tyler shoots
Yeah.
because I stuck a full in there,
Yeah.
and he was smoking them,
Yeah.
but you could just tell there was that little little
his
chip
head.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're going to try this eye mod." Well, when we got to Verona, you know, he gained 3 yards out there, and on that last day. On the 25, he's like, "Dad, is this eye mod going to work?" I said, "Son, you're going to smoke them targets." And he breaks 97, and he goes, "I think this eye mod." I said, "Well, you shot it in the dang Annie Oakleys." And he goes, "Oh,
yeah.
yeah." Well, see, I told him I was putting a full in.
Oh.
Just
Liar.
because, well, and then he did the one night. Well, then he was shoot all those sporting targets. So that's when I was like, "Hey, the next night, go out with your over and under. You can put a
Yeah.
full in the top.
Yeah.
If you get a trap target, and then the bottom, I'm gonna run you a light improved mod, which is 25,000.
Yeah.
And I said all them crossers and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh," I said, "just switch your selector back and forth."
Yeah.
Okay. I said, "Now make sure your selector's
Yeah.
on the one with the shell in it."
Don't mess us up.
Exactly. So, but yeah,
Don't
no,
hose us
I
here.
get what you're saying on
Yeah.
that because it does add just a little bit, and that
Hey, you know, if you can get
One
one
1,000.
target out of 1,000, in my opinion, it's worth doing.
Yeah, I've
you
always
know.
shot a full, and that just, back when I shot a Prozzi myself,
Yeah.
as we both did years ago, Wilkinson did my barrels.
Yep.
It was 37 thousandths. And that was actually tighter than the Krieghoff full, which is
Mm-hmm.
35. And shooting this 35 thousandths, I'm like, okay, now I've shot a lot, and it gets a little dirty, and it closes up a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I haven't
Yeah, get a
cleaned it
little
up. Maybe I'll
plastic-
clean it this week.
Got a little
but,
plastic in there.
Yeah.
You know,
Burn through it.
Years ago, I had a MX3 special that I shot. And
Betsy.
Yeah, that's old Betsy.
That's
I
old
got
Betsy.
new Betsy now.
Old Betsy. Which
And
Betsy was that?
That was, huh?
Betsy 1, Betsy 2?
That was
'Cause you-
Betsy 2.
Betsy 2.
Betsy 1 got stolen. So old Betsy
Yeah.
was the one that I shot for years. Well, every once in a while there was Parazzi USA was in California, right there in Azusa, and my mom was heading out that way, and I said, "Hey, Mom, would you take my gun in? I have them check the triggers, blah blah blah." Yeah, no problem.
Check everything.
Yeah, so she did, and she comes back and she says, "Hey, while they were there, I had them go ahead and clean your barrels and all this." I'm like, "You did what?" It was just getting good.
Good, yeah.
It was just had-
getting those smoke balls.
yeah,
in
it was
there.
just getting. I'm like, "You did. Don't ever let them clean my barrels. I'll do it when I'm ready." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
It's amazing, but I've had some fixed choke guns, and I thought the same thing. Like, you'd shoot them, and you get to a point where they really start hitting, and you're
yeah.
like, that's plastic buildup, like, for sure.
yeah.
And you're just blowing them up, and I'm like,
I don't know if it is or not, or maybe it's just in your head.
It's all
my
mental.
head.
Yeah.
It's all a head game out
but
here,
it's
folks.
it's fun to mess with, and
Oh yeah,
and we have a
I've
good
done,
time.
Hey, I see people, with the ports, and you see them, and they're just full of stuff. I'm
Oh, yeah.
like, hey man, you ought to no, don't touch that.
yeah.
They're perfect.
I'm building that.
Yeah, I'm building that.
It's like a sculpture.
Exactly. Wow.
well, I think we covered a whole lot today, and Sean, we could have you on 20 times
Oh, yeah.
because
Wow.
you've got so many stories, you've got so much knowledge. I think this, doubles information. It's above and beyond what we talked about a little bit last time. Is there anything else that we're missing here? Is there anything you wanted to ask today, Rick?
I think we're good, honestly.
I mean, I know we covered a lot.
Yeah,
Well, sounds good to me, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
absolutely.
We love having you on. I hope you come on a few more times. I mean, this is a lot of fun. And,
Another plug
and I
for
wish you a
Vermont Gun
good Grand
Club.
America. I wish you some success, and we'll see each
Yeah.
other out in the shoot-offs, hopefully.
And
Yeah.
to you guys as well, guys. I mean, just shoot them well
Hey,
and
hopefully
have a
we'll,
good time.
We'll be in the shoot-offs together
We're
and
gonna go
and
Team Wenig out there
That's
all
right.
night.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No, it ain't gonna be the last.
Nope.
We want to thank our show sponsors, obviously, Wenig, the beautiful wood behind us.
Yep.
Remington, as you can see on Sean Hawley's shirt, making the shells for me and for Sean. Not Ricky, but maybe someday. I don't know. But that being said, Shot Tracker,
Yep.
we're giving one away on Monday. We've got RM shooting clinics. If you need a little tune-up, if you need a financial advisor, I'm your guy. Anyone I'm missing?
That's it right
That's
now.
it. That's it. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Trap Talk.